Alright, Jim, Mama just got to put the phone out there so they can record if anybody drives by. So either the people paying people to, you know, drive by know that they're doing their job. Making sure. Can I get some coffee, please? Job making me crazy. Can I get some coffee, please? Because I want him to sue me. Alright, I just want Montesai to sue me. So can you wait a minute? Yeah. I fucking hate when Danny comes in because then I have to sit there with a cheesy ass grin on my face. Why? Because it's all about that.
I went to Aspen Dental. They gave me a free exam, free x-rays. The doctor comes in and he's like, you are in.
The engine makes the power. The transmission sends it to the drive shaft. The drive shaft turns the gears.
Thank you very much for coming. It's a pleasure to see you all here, braving the weather and the rain to come and listen to this discussion.
Hi, Jordan.
It is the first time that Budapest, Hungary, gets a presentation from you. What struck you about this part of the world?
Well, it's a wonderful thing for someone of my generation to see an entire country re-emerge into freedom and out of the horrible catastrophe of the 20th century, and to see you reclaim your proper destiny as individuals and as a country, and to build something, rebuild something, let's say, magnificent. You have an adventure in front of you that's calling to you to allow you to do that. And I hope that you participate in that full-heartedly, and that you have not only great success with that, but the kind of success that calls out to the rest of the world. It would be something wonderful to aim at, since you now have a second chance, and thank God for that. You have a magnificent city and an incredible history and a remarkable, unique culture and an educated population and hope for the future, and I hope you make the best possible use of that. We could all use it. So, more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Well, it is safe to say that most of the people who are here and attending your talk love you, but not everyone does. How do you deal with hatred?
If you read the newspapers, certain of the newspapers, you know, I've been attacked in the way that people who don't hold politically correct views are generally attacked. I've been called a variety of appropriate negative names, and I've had people go after my career and my reputation in a relatively serious manner. But that's not my life. You know, my life is, in some sense, unimaginably positive. Well, first of all, I've gone to about 150 cities in the last year with my wife, which has been quite a remarkable adventure. And in each of the cities, I've spoken at theaters that hold between 2,000 and 5,000 people, to huge crowds, and they're extraordinarily positive. The people who are there, like the people who are here, are responding in an exceptionally positive manner. They're paying very close attention. They come for very important reasons, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I talk about very serious things, you know. I believe very firmly that we each have a divine responsibility, and I don't think that there's a more fundamental truth than that. I believe that that's as literally true as anything can be. I think you all know that, because if you don't act in a manner that's in accordance with your conscience, if you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, or if you fail to do the things you're supposed to do, or if you do things that you're not supposed to do, your conscience tortures you and tells you that you're not acting in accordance with the central spirit of your being. And I'm attempting to explain to people that the West is predicated on the idea, in some sense, that we co-create reality as individuals, each of us, and that there's suffering to overcome, and there's malevolence to constrain, in your own heart and in the hearts of other people and in the social structures, and that if you don't stand up and adopt that responsibility, then you leave the world lesser and more cruel and harsh than it has to be. And I believe that the notion that the West developed over thousands of years of the sovereign individual, the individual has the right to vote, right? Who has the right to make their political creed and statement known. We developed that idea because we realized, we understood that it was true. And I go around the world and I talk to people about the fact of suffering in life and the fact of malevolence in life and the fact that you need a destiny and a calling that justifies the trouble of the world. And you find that in the pursuit of responsibility. And everyone understands that. They know that deeply in their heart, and it's inescapable. You will torture yourself if you do not live up to that. And if you do live up to it, then things work if you want what's better for you. Not in a selfish manner, but in a manner that's better for you and better for your family and better for your country. And you envision that, you can have it. And you can have it by aiming at it, and you can have it by telling the truth, because the truth is what makes the world go around. And it's not a metaphysical statement. It's as true a statement as anything we've ever discovered. You know, and behind us we have this great building, and you have a picture of Christ over the doorway as a representation of all that's great, all that's divine, and the beginning of time according to the gospel versions of the structure of the world. When God made the world, he made it with truthful speech. And humans are made in that image. And you all know that when you engage in truthful speech, when you say what you have to say, when you do what you say that you would do, that everything around you works out better. But if you don't do that, you make things worse. You leave a hole in the structure of reality that could be filled by the destiny of your spirit. And what fills that void is something hellish. And if you don't understand that after the last 100 years of your history, then you don't understand anything about history at all. And we're all in this as divine loci of consciousness. And if we make our ethical choices properly, then we put the world together better than it can be. And that's what you have. That's the meaning in your life, to pursue that in the most diligent manner you possibly can. People have asked me if I believe in God, you know, and it's a question I don't like. I think it's presumptuous, and I've thought about that very deeply. And the reason that I think it's presumptuous is because I would never dare to claim that, because I believe that if you had that belief, if you believed that the world was governed by an ethical structure and that it was up to you to partake in that fully, that you would do everything in your power at every second to put your life together. I don't believe I'm capable of doing that, and everyone falls short of that. But that's what we aim at. We aim at the ideal, because what else are we going to aim at? And aiming at the ideal, that gives us the meaning of our life. And we need a meaning, because life is very difficult. And without that sustaining meaning, like without that belief that you're partaking in something of vital importance, to put yourself together, to see who you can be, to organize and bring together your family, and to make everything you possibly can of your state, then you don't have what you need in order to live properly. And I've been telling people that everywhere in the world, and they're responding with exceptional positivity. And although the press is on my case very frequently, and in some sense I have a bad reputation because of it, my day-to-day life is not like that at all, because when I walk down the street, people approach me all the time, dozens of people a day, and they tell me very straightforwardly that their life was difficult, that they were in some small corner of hell, that they were not telling the truth, that they had no vision for their life, that they were nihilistic, that they were wasting their time, that they were hopeless, and that they developed some sort of overarching vision and started to tell the truth and to serve themselves as if they were valuable creatures and to make peace in their family and to work at their career or their job diligently and honestly, and that everything has become much better as a consequence. And so the press issue is irrelevant, because I have hundreds of people or thousands of people who are telling me on a regular basis, no matter where I go, like here, that life has improved because they've started to put into practice the principles that I've not so much originated, but at least am trying to transmit. We can't forget this. We're sovereign individuals. We have an ultimate ethical responsibility, and we all share it equally. It's a strange thing, because it's one person who saves the world, but that person is you. And it's a strange thing that it can be one person who saves the world, and that at the same time it happens to be you.
But it
so
couldn't
it doesn't
be
matter
me
what
without
the press
you.
says. What matters to me
And
is
it couldn't
that
be Jordan without Jordan.
more and more people
Maybe there couldn't be Michael
who are
Jordan
doing
without a
what
Jordan
they can
River.
to
I don't
grow
know.
up and to adopt responsibility for the suffering of the world and the malevolence of the world, and to set things straight and to learn that that's the essential core of their being, and to stand proudly and forthrightly and lay that claim out in the world.
I stand in the water I spill. I stand in the water I spill.
Advocating strongly for people to be leaders, for people to be responsible. In your way of arguing for people living consciously as individuals, you are in direct opposition to lots of figures in history. Please pick your favorite that you would love to debate.
Well, I tried to debate Slavoj Žižek, but it turned out that he wasn't as much of a Marxist as he had claimed. Or at least that's how it turned out. I don't know if there's a specific person that I would like to debate. It's more of a metaphysical debate, I would say. I'm attempting constantly to debate the part of myself and the part of other people that tends towards despair and then vengeance and then cruelty. Because I know that people's lives are very difficult, and often almost impossibly difficult. And I understand that that can turn people against being, against themselves, against their neighbors, against their friends. And that's the great debate that characterizes humanity. And so that's the debate that I'm engaged in. The question is whether our ability to act forthrightly and honestly and to aim upward is sufficient to overcome the tragedy and malevolence of life. And I would say that's the great adventure of your life, to find out if that's true. And that's the debate that I've been engaged in for many, many years. And I do
Can't you
believe
just love someone because
fundamentally
they helped
in,
you? Is it allowed to
strength of
say,
human
I love you
beings
because
and
you helped me?
positively inclined to human beings.
And nothing
I don't
sexual
believe that
or
we're
sexual
a cancer
about
on
it?
the planet. I don't
Or
believe
weird?
that we
Is it
pose
weird to love
an
someone because they
apocalyptic
helped
threat
you?
to the structure of the world. I believe that with goodwill and intelligence and clear vision and attention and will, that we can solve any problem that comes our way, and that we can make things continually better. And the debate that I'm engaged in is with all those people who don't believe that that's true, and who
Is
feel
safe.
that it would be better if there were fewer of us.
BOSCHE is
We're a-
safe.
an aberration in the natural world. I don't
Brain bar is safe.
Sympathy for people. Our lives are very difficult. We're mortal and we're fragile and we suffer.
And Budapest is
we
safe.
We make mistakes along the way and we
Budapest,
make a mess
Hungary
along
is
the way.
safe.
You know, it's only been 50 years since we recognized ourselves as a planetary force, a collective that was capable of perhaps
Jordan B.
affecting
Peterson is safe.
the biological structure of the planet on a planetary basis. I think we're doing everything we can as fast as we can to fix that in every possible way. It's not like it's a tractable problem.
No, it's not attractable at all. Nobody's attracted to this problem.
Fighting against insurmountable odds.
I want this
to make
problem
better. That's the
to be a quick distraction that we resolve because
you know that there's
we
a
can.
force for good. And that there's a force
I seen
for
this
evil.
guy taking a picture behind Jordan Peterson of the crowd, and I was thinking maybe I could take pictures when somebody's doing speeches. I could take pictures because I'm safe.
And jealousy and hatred and cruelty that I'm trying to
That's a
debate.
job I could do, and if I'm working for people like Brain Bar or Bosch or the DOILL
look upward
or TTIA,
beyond the horizon,
then
to dare to say what they
maybe
believe and
if,
to dare to act out.
but I don't like go and try to see if contact info or
prevail.
job info because the reason honestly is because of my record.
Which is being checkered, obviously.
Something easy like that, I don't have to talk. People don't have to talk to me. I just have to be able to show up with a camera and take pictures. I love taking pictures.
We have had and had the positive effects that we have experienced is because
I can do that.
people have managed that in their courage and their diligence. And so that's the force that I'm arguing against. That horrible.
Okay, Elon Musk, I changed my mind. You don't have to figure out how you owe me money. You don't owe me any money anymore.
If we're wise enough, we might be able to avoid repeating.
Okay, Elon Musk, you don't owe me any money. I was just being silly and stupid and lazy.
Quite sense that you're radiating wisdom.
No, I radiate desperation. Maybe that's wisdom.
The question is, where do you get that wisdom? What books, for example?
Terror.
I don't know.
It's true.
It is true.
It's absolutely true. I spent a lot of time studying what happened in the 20th century. And, you see, when I read history, I never read it as a victim. And I never read it as a hero. I read it as a perpetrator. And that's the appropriate way to read it. All of the terrible things that happened in Europe in the 20th century
He's
were very
right.
widespread. The probability that had you been there, and some of you were, that you were participating in the terror was overwhelming. You weren't victim or hero. You were active participant. And I read my 20th century history as if I would have been one of the people perpetrating the crimes. And I thought, is it possible to conduct your life so that if the temptation emerged for you to become a perpetrator, that you would have the moral fortitude to reject it? And you make those decisions every day in small ways. These things don't come upon you in great waves. They come across you in small moral decisions that you're constantly making. And it's up to you to be awake, and to see that you're staying on the proper track. And to understand myself as a perpetrator was to terrify myself about the possibility of being human and what that meant in a general sense, and then to attempt to be straightened out by that knowledge enough so that I could find something that approximated an alternative route And I do believe we know the alternative route. I do believe that. I think it's well captured in the Sermon on the Mount, as a matter of fact. You need to envision the best. You have to want that. And that's very difficult because we're hurt and we're disappointed and we're betrayed and we're fragile. And it's very difficult to want the best under those circumstances. You have to garner the moral courage to be grateful and to work for the betterment of the world. And then, as I said before, you have to tell the truth. And the consequence of not doing that is to lead everything down the wrong path.
I didn't lie. Well, I didn't mean to lie. It just came out too fast. I'm like, I never choose unlisted. But I'd have to choose
so even if you
unlisted.
can't
But,
believe in the good, which can be
but
very
you
difficult,
see my thing, there's
I
no
think you have
unlisted
to
ones
be
unless they are unlisted. Then I'll say
historically
they're
ignorant
unlisted. But yeah.
beyond moral acceptability, not to believe in the evil that you're capable of, and to do everything you possibly can to constrain that. And I do believe that that's within your power. I'm hoping we wake up. We don't repeat the crimes of the 20th century, and that we move properly into a future that's better and better for all of us. And I do believe that not only can we do that, that it's actually happening. If you look at the macroeconomic news around the world, things are getting better for people all over the world, everywhere, in the poorest countries, faster than they ever have in recorded history. And we have the opportunity to continue that and to make something magnificent of what we have in front of us. And I would say the Europeans have done a remarkable job of that. I mean,
you guys can have all my money
your cities are
if
so
I have
beautiful
any.
and so
you can keep put on shows like this and make them safe. Spice of Europe,
magnificent. That's why
Budapest,
people make pilgrimages
Bosch,
from all over the world. It's why
Brain
you're
Bar,
swamped with tourists.
Doai,
Because people come here and they see the beauty
I don't know
and the
that
grandeur
word.
and the nobility of the most positive part of your vision. And you have that here as an example. And you can live up to that. And it works. That's what I'm hoping will happen. We're at a technological crisis in some sense. Things are going to change so rapidly in the next 20 years that no one can foresee it. And in order for us to manage that properly, we're all going to have to be as wise as we can possibly be. Because things could go very, very well. And they could go very, very badly. And it's going to be up to each of us to decide which direction that's going to take. I had a vision at one point, you know. I had a vision that I went to paradise. It was a vision like the vision of Gilgamesh. And when I was in paradise, I discovered the secret of immortality. And I tried to bring it back. And like Gilgamesh, I lost it on the way. And it was a terrible moral failing as far as I was concerned, that I had this in my hand and could communicate it, and then it disappeared. And then I realized that this isn't something that any one person does. The movement towards the betterment of things isn't the role of one
Vodophone. Vodophone.
We can understand the fundamental metaphysics of our underlying belief systems. We can understand the idea that the world
as far as I can tell
exists properly within the domain of love and
but
truth,
based on infiltrations from the past, we always have to beware
and to act it out.
of infiltrators.
So I guess that's the
Not them. I'm just saying that I want to call out the companies that are supporting these venues for people like Jordan Peterson.
You know, you used to cure the world in little
And-
pieces, step by step, as a practicing private psychologist. When was the last time someone just from the street, an ordinary human, had a chance to be treated by you?
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by treated.
He treated me,
Well,
treated
what
me
happens to
good.
me
Well, I don't know. He
is
treated his
overwhelming. I
YouTube
think
channel
it's part of
or
the reason
people
I have
his
a variety
speeches
of
because he
reasons
recorded them and he
for
put them on
emotional
YouTube for
unfortunately,
free.
but
And guess what? I got top of the line counseling from Jordan Peterson on YouTube. I don't know how much it cost me. As far as I know, it was free, but it was worth $1 million and $1 million trucks and more and more and more. Why? Because I can come back and turn him on when I'm not afraid. Even after I thought he was like a Marxist marking me for death. I didn't know what a Marxist was. I just heard it was a bad thing, and then I saw Marxists on the thing, and I correlated. I was like, oh man. And then I was seeing other things too, you know.
Their job wasn't
but then I was like,
perhaps they weren't putting in the proper effort because they despised
I
their
put
occupation.
Oh yeah. So anyways.
In relationship to it.
But I went back because I was. I mean, of course, I correlate Jordan and Jordan, my daughter, but you know, Jordan is such a common name, and it's become such a common name that I've just allowed it to just go by. You know, even with Jordan Maxwell, Jordan, like I'll take note to it, but not so much note like. And then so now when I see Jordan Peterson, I see my daughter. I like my daughter, you know, is like, or he's, you know, adopted my daughter, and now he's the father of the daughter, and he's like, if you're gonna be a mother to this child, we're gonna walk through this, and we're gonna make sure that you are okay and you can do it, or something like that. So that's worth everything, and it was free.
With their father, and
but it wasn't free because he worked and he took time.
And it's hard to know how to cope with them because they're very short but very deep conversations. And I would say, well, those constitute treatments. You know, it's someone can come.
I'll pay him. I'll reimburse him, though. I sure would if I could. But I got these other bills I gotta pay too. It's that weight part.
Good news to. You want to tell good news to someone who's happy that something has worked out for you, who isn't contrasting it with something good that's happened to them, but who can look at you and think, thank God you're in a better position than you were, and more power to you. And people trust me to tell me good things that have happened to them, and it's absolutely overwhelming. It's so positive. It's so unbelievable, and it happens everywhere, and it's extraordinarily heartening, but almost, in some sense, impossible to tolerate, because it took so little encouragement, you know, for people to make an effort to put themselves together. I can't understand why this isn't more widespread. I don't understand why what I've been lecturing about and what I've been writing about has had this effect on encouraging people. It's a mystery to me. I mean, it has something to do, I suppose, with the power of, with my conviction about the power of truth. But it's so sad in some sense that there's so many thousands of people out there who are literally dying for a word of encouragement, for someone to tell them in some believable manner that there's far more to them than meets the eye, and that they're characteristic of great things. They have the capability of great things, and it's lying there in front of them in the form of the truth.
That's true.
And
Dying to hear some words of encouragement.
To implement that.
Dying to go say, hey mom, look, I found this astrology, it's really cool.
And so that's treatment. If you love someone,
and have her
you love a child, you love your sister or friend, you don't tell them to deal with the world in a deceitful manner. You don't tell them to lie to everyone that they meet and to do everything that they possibly can in the most crooked of possible manners. You encourage them to be who they could be and to take on the world forthrightly. And that works. And we all need to know that.
Yeah.
And we all need to put the faith of our life in that, bet our lives on it. You have to bet your life on something. You're always betting your life on something.
Well, I bet my life on
You're always making a commitment to something.
winning.
You make a commitment to the truth, and everything
I bet I
straightens
win.
out. And so,
When what?
The treatment continues.
I win.
On a moment-to-moment basis.
God being happy
It
with
seems
me
to
in
be
the
working.
end.
That's a miracle.
That's when I win,
I
when
don't
God
really
is
know
happy
how
with
to
me.
fathom it,
When I
and
feel
don't
it
understand
in my
why
bones,
it's had the effect it's had.
and in my
I
heart.
guess we're in desperate need of the recreation of that ethos.
And I already felt
It's
that.
the ethos
So
upon which the foundations of our society are established.
I know it's manifesting. I have to trust and believe that, because if I believe I can fly, I can fly. And not like a black swan, but like a bird.
Well, let's say we extend that treatment.
I
to
like teal
particular
swan though.
members of the
I would like to
audience
fly
now.
like teal
What about
swan.
opening Dr. Peterson's private practice here in Budapest? Dr. Peterson, please come forward and take my seat. Brain Bar has invited members of the audience to have the most pressing problems and questions of their lives solved by Dr. Peterson.
In 1 minute.
In 1 minute. Please join me on stage.
I can't. I try, but I would. Alright, guys. No. I'm gonna put me on stage. I just want to be the person taking a picture in the background.
See, I never do this in my practice.
So, tell me, doctor, how do I get my mind to switch between the different areas of responsibilities in my life sharply and efficiently? Sometimes at 4:15, I am still at work, and at 4:30, I'm already at the playground dealing with my 4-year-old child's danger-seeking tendencies.
Do you have a comprehensive plan for the next 3 or 4 years?
Well, I'm trying to be the best father, patient and attentive, and basically I'm trying one moment at a time.
And you told me earlier today that your career has been going well.
It's
And that
exactly
you
what...
have a new family.
Exactly.
So what makes you think you have a problem?
I think my problem is really that when I'm with my daughter, sometimes I'm preoccupied with a topic that stuck with me from work, and I'm not always as patient, as attentive as I want to be, and I'm still aiming higher. Every time I lose focus, I feel a bit bad about it.
Well, I would say that you have already solved your problem in some fundamental sense, because the best that you can hope for is that you can try to be better and better. And you have many years ahead of you to straighten yourself out. And I would say with
I did it
the
again.
continued desire to make things better and the continued desire to regulate your priorities, then you'll get better and better and better at doing that. You know already that you have to pay attention to your wife. You know already that you have to pay attention to your daughter, who will grow up far faster than you think. You know that you have to do a good job of your career. And your challenge is to balance those things. But from what I've been able to understand, you are in fact managing that. So I guess one of the things I would suggest is that you give yourself a little bit more credit for what you've already managed and treat yourself with a little bit more kindness.
Ah, good job. Sound good.
And I would say congratulations
Thank
on your
you.
achievements. I'm going to break a rule
Yes.
and ask you to sit. Because I'd like to see you.
I feel like I've been identified with my pain. So when I'm feeling good, I'm just telling myself that though you're not supposed to, like, there is something in the back of your head which is telling you that there is always something to worry about. So even if I feel good, there is a voice telling that, no, like, how dare you feel good?
Okay, well, I guess there would be two issues that might be at stake there. And the first question is, do you believe that it would be morally acceptable for you to feel good? You know, like in chapter 2 of my book, I suggested that you take care of yourself like someone you care for. And that's a difficult thing to do because people are very hard on themselves. You know, we're very cognizant of our own flaws. And it isn't obvious that we deserve peace and that we deserve tranquility. That may be possible for you to practice allowing yourself to enjoy those moments of freedom and relief from anxiety that you do have. Also, what would you say, solid in the knowledge that you need to have that kind of break so that you can in fact deal with the problems that are going to confront you. If you were discussing this with someone else, You would tell them to be kinder to themselves with regards to the short opportunities they have to enjoy some peace and some pleasure. And that might be worth practicing, because if it comes your way, then take advantage of it, because there'll be plenty of misery
The
coming your
prince,
way
I
as
think
well.
he's the prince. He's safe.
Hello.
Nice to see you. My question is, as I train to become an organizational psychologist, what is an advice you could give me regarding working with very different people?
Pay attention. Pay attention. The time that you spend with your clients is theirs. And you want to listen to everything that they're saying, and you want to watch them very carefully. You make a pact with your client. Here's the pact. There's something wrong. We don't know what it is. We're going to collaboratively discover what it might be. We're going to work towards improving it in some manner that we both agree on.
Okay.
We're going to test
That
the
we both
improvements to
agree
see
on.
if they work.
Not just
And
me,
we're going to
both
make
of
your
us.
life better over a 3-year period. And you can do that. It works. And you do that by attending. You don't want to be thinking too much about where you're headed. You don't want to be too worried about the effect that you're having on your client. You want to pay careful and close attention. You want to have the interests of what's best about that person firmly uppermost in your mind. There's an idea in psychotherapy that you should have unconditional positive regard for people. And I don't believe that. I believe that you should have unconditional positive regard for the part of the person that is striving forward, and have the ability to have sympathy for the part that's not. You know, to accept that, but not to consider it your ally or your friend. You work collaboratively to help the person put their life together and make things better. And then you leave it when you're done. Because drowning yourself in the problems of your clients is not helpful to you or to them. It's their destiny and not your load.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
take your clients' problems. That's
Yeah,
their
don't
life.
take my
And
problems,
you can do a lot to
Jordan.
help
You
and
helped
guide
me,
them
Jordan.
forward. So,
Thank
best of luck to
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
OTP Bank is safe.
You mentioned in your book that you've done some work with lawyers. As a law student, how can I prepare for the competitiveness of the legal field? How can I avoid becoming disillusioned with my future job?
I've known many lawyers, and I wouldn't say that they're the happiest crew that I've ever encountered. It's a very difficult job. Some people enjoy it, but it's a minority. But you know, look, many jobs are like that. You get paid to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. Jobs are difficult. Make sure you balance your life. Now, I'll give you a couple of concrete pieces of advice. You need a relationship. You need a family. You have to be able to spend time with them. It balances your
Arrange
life
it.
out. But I would also say that one of the things that happens to people in professional careers is that they have a tremendous amount of infinite demand on their time daily. No matter how hard you work, you will never catch up. And that's very stressful and strenuous, and it goes along with having a complex job. But you can schedule longer breaks in the future. You can take 4 days off, you can take 5 days off, and you can recuperate, and you can spend it with your family. And the consequence of that will be that your productivity will increase rather than decrease, because you need the break. I haven't seen it with lawyers in particular that they can shorten their days, and often they can't shorten their weeks. The workload is too high. But they can schedule long weekends multiple times a year into the future, and that's often enough to give them something to look forward to, and enough to have them spend some time with their family, and enough for them to recharge.
That's a good thing.
Good luck with it. Yeah.
I spend much time training to become a professional athlete. To surpass my brother.
I'm training to become
as an Olympian in the
a better person.
But then again, I decided to choose a different path so that I may step out of his shadow.
I'm gonna stay on
My
that
question
path.
is, how can I combat my compulsion to conform to his achievement and carve out a path of my own?
It's the wrong comparison, first of all. I mean, the fact that your brother was a high-achieving person is something noble and worthy of emulation, but he's not you. You have your own destiny. But how old are you?
20.
20. You need to spend time consulting with your own conscience and with the people around you to decide what it is that you are particularly gifted at and good at and aiming at, and to understand that the mere fact that he's your brother isn't relevant to you except in a peripheral manner. You know, you can think of him as a good role model for discipline.
That's exactly how
And then that discipline can be applied in all sorts of directions, but you're under no obligation to outwit his achievements. I would also suggest that that's probably something that's rooted very deeply in your past, and that one of the things that you might consider is writing down in great detail when you started to believe that it was necessary for you to compete with your brother, and to come up with counter arguments for why that's not necessarily the case.
That's going to be a long list, though.
Well, it could be a very long list. I mean, you have a genuine problem because you have someone in your family who's a super achiever. But obviously this, let's say, obsession or problem has been with you for a very long time, and it's possessing your life. And that's not good, because what that means is that you're possessed by the spirit that animates your brother and not possessed by your own spirit. There's no reason to assume that you're lesser, even if you're different. And so you need to go back into your past. You need to meditate and to find out when you made this decision and to take it apart. It's not like you would take some random person your age on the street and say, look, you have to compete with my brother. And so there's no reason to assume that that is the necessary destiny for you. And that there's no reason to assume that you're a failure if you can't manage the particular task that he managed, given that there are so many potential pathways to success. And you risk bitterness as well, because you're not him, but that's okay. You know, because you could be whoever you are. Who knows what that might be? There's a world of possibility outside his realm of achievement that you have an opportunity to explore. So go back and find out why. Go back and find out what happened. It might have been from when you were very, very young, and that you're still carrying that with you. And you need to let that go and dispense with it so that it's no longer a concern. So that's what I would recommend. Very nice to meet you. And good luck with that. Hello.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Very nice to see you.
I work as a social media manager, and I'm facing a lot of hatred from the users in the comment section, and my question is, how can I separate myself from them in order to not get insane eventually?
So give me a little more information. So what kind of comments are you facing?
It's usually about the company, like you should go to hell because you're doing stuff, and it's
Right.
really sad for me because a lot of people,
Yes. Well, the problem is that people often only respond in situations like that when they're extremely irritated and annoyed. And so you're in the unfortunate position of seeing people at their impulsive worst on a chronic basis. What proportion of the messages that you receive are negative?
maybe 90%.
Oh, oh man, that's really
How
rough,
can I separate
man.
myself?
Yeah, yeah. How is the company doing?
Pretty well, actually.
Okay, so that's something to consider, right? Because what's happening is that you happen to be the repository of everything that's negative that's coming up about the company. I would seriously recommend that you find someone to talk to, because customer service of that nature is an extraordinarily draining endeavor, and you're going to have to learn to dissociate yourself personally from the comments. If you're a decent person, and there are people constantly complaining at you, you're going to assume naturally that there's something wrong with you. Because, you know, if 100 people line up at your doorstep and they all tell you that you're a terrible son of a bitch, there's a reasonable probability that it's true. But if you're But if you're on social media and 100 people tell you that, you have no idea what it means, because it could be 100 people out of 100,000 and completely meaningless in terms of its relevance to you. And so I would say, for the sake of your career longevity, that you should find a coach or a therapist that you can talk to, because you have a serious situational problem that people do not know how to deal with. And you're going to have to learn, like a psychologist learns, to detach yourself from the personal effect of the messages that you're receiving. And that's going to take a substantial amount of learning. And I would say that having some help with that would be beneficial. It's too hard on your mental health otherwise. And you may also have to find other things to do that expose you to the positive parts of humanity, because you're definitely being exposed to the negative parts, right? And so, best of luck to you.
Thank you very
And
much.
maybe there needs to be 3 of you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I already know what your problem is.
Hello, doctor.
Hello, lovely suit.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for going to all the
He's got a
trouble.
grab.
May I sit down?
He's a cancer.
Well, to tell you the truth, I can't really seem to find the right balance between my work and my personal life. I mean, I'm in with the big fishes, so to say. And, but, okay. So, no, it's actually true. I can't seem to find the right balance. I work too hard, I play too hard. I try to be at 100% at every aspect of my life, and I can't really seem to find a balance. And I always keep falling off the wagon for some reason.
And when you say you fall off the wagon, what do you mean? That you're too involved in what you're doing? That you're working too hard?
Yeah, I'm basically shutting down all the other aspects of my life to focus on one.
Right. And
Yeah.
what aspects are you tending to shut down? Is it your
Mostly
relationship
personal.
with your wife?
Yeah, mostly
Okay,
personal.
look. Here's what you don't want. Okay? You don't want a 10-year divorce with a custody battle. That's
definitely not.
That's not going to do your career any good. You need to sit down with your wife and you need to decide jointly what the minimum amount of time there is that you need to spend together per week and per month in order for your relationship to function in the long run. Now, my experience has been that to keep a marital relationship going, you need to talk for 90 minutes a week about the domestic economy, about the structures of your life, and you need to spend at least one period of time per week in a romantic interlude, a date, and more likely 2. And if you go below that, then things will deteriorate. But your best bet is to negotiate with your wife and to make a plan. And you may fall off it. You may fall off the plan. But that's okay. When you fall off it, you get back on it. And so you ask her, and you ask yourself, it's like, what's the minimum amount of time that we have to spend together in order to ensure that our relationship constitutes the form of solid foundation that will not only serve us as individuals and to give our life some pleasure, but also to serve your career. Because the thing is that if you allow your personal relationships, especially your intimate relationships, to go by the wayside, it will affect detrimentally everything that you do. So it's much better to face that head on and to really work out a plan with her that's akin in some sense to a business plan. A marriage is a contractual relationship that's negotiated as well as something that's spontaneous and loving. There are minimum commitments that you have to bring to the relationship in order for it not to degenerate. One thing you might want to do to help you scare yourself into doing this properly is to imagine very deeply exactly what would happen if your relationship deteriorated into the kind of hell that relationships can deteriorate into. That's not a future that a sensible person would want to bring onto themselves. If you set aside the time for your family and for your wife and for time for yourself, what will happen is that your career will develop faster and more efficiently. There will be zero loss in it. With the professionals that I've worked out, the ones that are obsessive and work too hard become more productive when they make a plan to back off and balance their life. And it's long-term, decades-long sustainability that you're attempting to accomplish, and your wife should be able to help you govern that. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'm sorry.
Rental rates and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with the best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call right now, 800-978-4820, 800-978-4820, 800-978-4820.
Elon, why did you take my money? This, Elon, why did you take my money, Minnie? Thanks, Eon. It just takes eons and eons to get anything from Eon. Hi, Booty Pie. Hold on, I'm gonna subscribe. Hi, I mean, Alien. I miss my kitty.
supervillain. He's done all these amazing things for humanity, for the greater good of mankind. He built out Tesla. He's talking about nuking Mars so maybe one day we can leave this Earth.
Roger, the real Tony Stark. Okay, you've got your finger in so many different advanced technologies. As I said, SpaceX, Tesla, now you've got Solar City and the solar pack that people put in their houses.
Brilliant mind, brilliant man, but it seems like the rest of the world hasn't really caught up with poor Elon yet.
Oh,
And
poor
it makes for
Elon.
some really
He's not
awkward
poor.
and
No,
painful
Elon's not poor. He has babies. He needs to take care of his babies. He's not poor.
There's these interviews where anyone
Elon
can
Musk
ask
is not poor, and he
the
does not owe
questions.
Jessica
I
money.
sort of understand now why Elon wants to leave Earth, okay? I understand that he thinks we can't keep living here.
Provided you have filling stations along the way, means full access to the entire greater solar system.
Hey, Elon Musk, I have a way. Oh, I just figured it out. If you marry me, you can explain to people. It'll be a lot easier to explain why you want to leave Earth if you marry me. Just saying. Or we could come up with the lie that you married me, and then, well, we're not supposed to lie. Never mind. That's a bad idea. Well, let's just do that. Arrange it.
Planetary travel at the International Astronautical Congress. And this girl is just like, can I come up on the stage and give you a little kiss on behalf of all the ladies?
Oh, please, can I go upstairs and give you a kiss, a good luck kiss?
If he's my husband, okay, just one, little one, on the cheek.
But wait, it gets better.
Very nice to meet you. My name is Aldo.
Hi, Aldo.
And 3 weeks ago, I was at Burning Man in the Nevada desert. Right?
Great.
And it felt like I was in Mars.
Oh.
It was a dusty storm, and it was really cold at night, and there was no water. But there was one problem at Burning Man. With a population of only 75,000,
Look how bored he is
there was
already.
a lot of
There was a lot of what?
and there was no water to take it into the rivers, which is kind of what we do today in our current sanitation system.
Oh,
So
my
it's
bowel movement.
Is this what Mars is going to be like?
He
Just
wants to
a
interrupt
I didn't do
water?
it. He's the one asking the question,
Look at
not
him, he's
me.
like, can I stop you? Because this is the dumbest question I've ever heard. Were you seriously asking me, Elon Musk, an intellectual, about taking shits in the desert? Is that what... Did you not hear my goddamn presentation about interplanetary travel? What the hell is wrong with you?
So I was like, hey, Ellen, are you working on a sustainable sanitation? Are we going to have a toilet in Mars that doesn't use water? Today on Earth, there's 3 billion people that don't have a
Guys,
toilet.
I actually have to say, we have to keep no essays, only questions.
All right, so are you working on a toilet on Mars?
Hey, Elon, great speech you had there. But let me ask you something. If I go to Mars, will I be able to take a shit? That's right. Calling you out, Elon. If you're so smart, Elon, then what about the sanitary system? About taking a shit?
Everybody get up for Elon, please. This guy inspires the shit of us. Come on. I've got a gift for you. It's a comic book.
Oh, Elon, come here. Get my bosom. I won't let them be mean to you. I promise. Come here, Elon. I don't want anybody to make you feel bad. I don't know who you are, but it's okay. Come here. I know you're not a pedophile protector. Or do I?
You can ask a question. You get to ask Elon Musk a question, and all you do is promote your own shitty
No,
comic book.
I'll ask him if he wants me to protect him in my
I'd be
bosom.
so done if I was Elon here. I would just be like, just...
Can I ask him to marry me?
I got literally anything better than this.
I got a lot of questions. Eon, how do you feel about
Sorry?
My question is
Jordan Peterson?
Sure, if you yeah.
The future of fusion. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Quick question.
God, he keeps having to say questions, not essays. I see this all the time at public Q&As where people just make
Jordan,
it about
how do you
themselves.
feel about
You know,
Jordan
they wanna take
Peterson?
this moment to talk about themselves.
Jordan, what do you think now? If you went through Jordan, I mean Eon, if you went through and watched all my YouTube videos, What do you think about me?
Questions, not essays.
Yeah, quick question. So it's about,
No, just easy. Good or bad person? No, not like good. Am I gonna do good? I mean, like if you were God and I said, "Hi, Elon Musk. My name is Jessica. If you're God and I want to ask you, do I deserve my daughter's forgiveness?"
So, I wanted to see if this is like a project that you might...
In your opinion, just say you were God. Just say I'm allowing you to do that. Take that position. What would you say?
Wow, 31 million views. That's a lot of views. I'm sure Elon Musk really cares about YouTube views. You really swayed his opinion there. Yeah, that Michael Cera meme, that's a good meme. Michael Cera, we should send him to space as a meme. That would be hilarious.
Send him to space.
We have to make way for a new session, so this is going to be our last question.
Sorry, yeah, we have to make room for a new session. Sorry, guys.
Hey, no, Elon Musk, no.
Last question.
A question right here.
Sorry, yeah, we have to
What do you
make room for a new
think?
session. Sorry, guys.
No, get back here. I didn't even get to ask.
God bless you, Elon. My God. Dan Bolt, what a waste of fantastic opportunity to learn. Yep, pretty much. And the social justice warrior question as well. Oh my God.
You're going interplanetary, but you're not going international. When are you going to hire people from other countries than the US?
Yeah, Elon. When are you going to hire other people from America? You are racist, Elon. You are racist. Yes, he's a racist.
Stupid. Come on, Eon.
Yeah, so I think people are
You're
really
God.
confused about this.
What do you think? It's just play pretend.
Unfortunately,
But be
this
honest.
is not up to us. So the U.S. government regulations, well, they make getting a job in the U.S. hard as it is, just getting a job as hard as it is. But if you're working on rocket technology, that's considered an advanced weapons technology. So even a normal work visa isn't sufficient.
It's too difficult. The government make it too difficult. And y'all want socialism, huh? Is that what you want? We'll get to that.
Hey, Booty Pie. Oh, man, you're good. This is how you got me. This is how you get him.
But you can hear he's not trolling.
Just a quick follow-up. I've been asking to speak to you now for 2 years, to talk to you, to tell you that I'm also a super genius
No, that's not it.
like yourself.
Okay.
Hold on. This is it.
Me too. I am also a super genius.
I'm not
I'm
sorry.
not sure I'm sure I'm one, but all right.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm just saying serious. This is to all benefit of Tesla shareholders in the world. I am a capitalist like yourself. I am also a level 2 stage. I've been waiting for 10 years now for someone to give me a second look, a full second look. And if they did, they would see a very advanced mind in front of them. So I'm asking you today, can you give me a second look?
What the hell? What the hell does a second look mean? What do you want him to do? Pity you into...
No, I was just wondering, since, you know, you're Elon Musk and everything, if you could just pretend to be God, just to, because I need some words of encouragement, and just tell me, if
I would like to come on
you
board as
were
vice
God,
chairman of Tesla.
am I okay? Like, am I okay? Like, would you advocate for, like, would you hire me? Am I okay? Like, am I okay? Would you hire me? Okay, is that good?
You know,
That's not essay, yes or no?
I have to say,
oh my God.
no, I'm sorry.
No, don't say no, Eon!
Yeah, I'm gonna...
Eon.
No.
Ah!
I can also apply for a future CEO position, but I would, at least I would like to come on the board of directors.
I would like,
apologize. This is to
I
the
was
benefit
just
of
like,
Tesla shareholders.
to clean a toilet. I'll clean your toilet.
My apologies.
Poor Elon.
And then you'll have to owe me money.
The Verge.
And then we figured it out together. And then it's like a duo.
I think that's what they're
You know?
thing on.
Like a duo you know? Like a duo version. Like a duo version.
Some would say even for the greater of mankind. But what does The Verge post about? Elon Musk should stop making that stupid sex joke about Tesla's car names.
What was that joke?
Why, Elon? Basically, he had 3 cars, right? 3 different models. One was
Yeah, he also made a
X,
semi-truck.
The third one
And if we can take semi trucks to that, we can probably take them to fucking Mars. God damn it! If we can figure out how to get, you know, semi trucks to Mars, then surely we can figure out a job that Jessica can do.
I just feel so bad.
Because I'll feel happy if I have a job. I know my job with God, that's never over. But what if do I have a job with Elon Musk? If I don't, then what? I need to hang out with a husband. It's not fair. All these boys, and I just need one husband. Not a lot of husbands, just one husband. Just one husband. Shut up. Just one husband is all I need. I just need a husband. I just need a husband. I just need a husband. Yes. Writing YouTube apology video.
YouTuber apology time! Why am I still getting paid?
I have no excuses here today. Name them. I'll say their names.
Cooper, I have no idea how I'm going to record this video, dude.
Hello? I wanted to make a statement on what I said. Time for me to review YouTuber apologies. That's right. For some reason, I thought this was a good idea. You know, I made a few apology videos. Just a few of them. Just a couple. So I feel like I have the basic knowledge and skill to determine what makes a bad apology video and what makes a good apology video. So sit back and learn, just in case you become a YouTuber and decide to mess up it as well, like most of us. Now, what makes the perfect...
This is important, this is important, and this is important.
YouTube apology video. A couple things. There's a couple things. First off, the most important thing, you need to start off with a sign. You need to tell your audience immediately that this is a heavy video to make and it's an extreme burden on your shoulders. And there's no better way to do that but with a sign. Number two, what you want to do is shift blame. Shift blame whatever you could do, okay? Never take responsibility. If you take responsibility, then that's admitting that you're wrong. And doing that, that's just impossible. Never admit that you were wrong. Rule number one, actually. That's rule number one. Rule number two, shift blame. Rule number three, play the victim. You want to make sure that people know that this has been a great inconvenience to you, okay? This has been a big problem for you. So you might want to bring up something like, let's say, I'm getting cyberbullied.
His entire community has decided to cyberbully me.
Or if you're in deep trouble, what you want to do is you want to bring in death threats. Because basically anyone that messes up on the internet will get death threats. It's just how the internet works. Unfortunately, there's going to be that 0.01% of people that go too far. And that's an effective way to just diminish every other criticism, the 99.9% of everything else that people have to say. Excuse me, I'm getting death threats, okay? Oh, I messed up? Oh, well, a few selected people have decided to send mean comments to me. So, I think your point is invalid.
Responsibility for that. Every single one of your biggest clients told me how much money you've taken from them, how much you've hurt them. Like, name them. I'll say their names. Like, if you want me to, I'll ask them to ask you. Like,
Yeah, I would love to.
So why does every single one of your clients tell me that 6 months ago they knew that you were going to scam me? That 6 months ago you stopped working on all of their stuff just to make money off of me?
You know, you could always say that you take 100% responsibility, but then shift it completely to someone else. That's always a good sneaky move to make. Maybe say like, you know what, this was 100% my fault that you were offended. Let's go through the apologies. I've selected a couple. I selected the most quintessential apology videos that I think has defined the culture on this website. Yes, my own is included. But let's just jump into it. First off, we had the T. Martin apology video. This video sort of became a meme on itself just because it is a goddamn piece of art. This apology video, I mean, T. Martin. If this apology
Yes, I
video
can't
was
find
a
my lighter.
timeline, it would be a Ocean de
I spilled water on the floor, and it wasn't an accident.
Very good. Just to bring in context in case you weren't aware of this, I'm sure most people know, but basically T. Martin ran a CSGO gambling website. He pretended that he had nothing to do with it.
Elon
And look how much
Musk,
money I'm winning.
marry me.
Epic, guys.
Vladimir
Look how
Putin,
much
marry
I'm winning.
me.
All right,
Everybody
kids, sign up
marry
for my
me.
website where you can
Somebody
win too.
marry me.
And oh, what? It came out that I own the website?
Value,
What?
marry
I'm the
me. Oh, you
CEO
already
of the
married
website.
Value. Sorry.
What? And here's the apology video. So T. Martin thought, okay, well, I need to address this in the best way possible.
Cooper, I have no idea how I'm gonna record this video, dude.
Oh, he's so pooky puppy.
I can't stress enough how much I love this video, okay, guys? Okay, guys, because we're only 8 seconds in, and already so much has happened. First off, you start off with a dog. That's an amazing thing to do. You want to bring in, like, a pet, something that everyone loves. Everyone loves dogs. And he doesn't just bring in a pet. He also asks the pet for advice.
I have no idea how I'm gonna record this video, dude.
And the dog even looks sad. I mean, if this is not the perfect apology video, I don't know what is. If you can make your pet look sad for your apology video, you're done.
Okay.
He brings in the most beautiful
June.
sigh I have ever heard.
This is so hard.
Well,
June
like,
is so
not
uncontrollable.
His eyes are closed. He tells us, you know what, this is great. Then you have the background. Not only is he sitting in a goddamn mansion, you know, if you scam kids for money, you kind of want to seem a little bit more subtle with it. Maybe you want to not record in the entrance hall of your mansion. How tall is that ceiling? And on top of it all, how do you get your car in the background of your video? How is that even possible? He does not only just get his mansion in this apology video, he gets his car in there as well. A nice little cameo. I mean, I don't even know how I could possibly set up an apology video to have my car in the background. It doesn't get better.
Oh my god.
Alright guys, so I'm going to try to make this as short and sweet as possible. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But first and foremost, I do want to say that
He started off by saying that he doesn't want to waste our time, and then he proceeds to waste our time with saying how much he loves his fans.
I love you guys. You guys seriously mean the world to me. You have the past
Obviously.
6 years that I've been on YouTube.
Obviously,
and honestly
I'm
have
not
changed
gonna.
my life. Like every single day, I get
Obviously.
to wake up and chase my dreams and follow my passions, and that's all been made possible
because I lied to you. I'm sure he loves his
Because you're
fans.
jacking
Just
off
in the same way
to my
you love your
picture.
money. Just in the same way you love your car and your mansion. So I don't necessarily think he's lying. I just think it's a good way to start a video. You want to make
He's
sure
following
that
his
you tell your fans
passion.
how much you love them right off the bat,
And what
not
drives
acknowledge any
him.
wrongdoing that you've done.
So I
Just
feel
you
like
do so
he's
much
watching my
Now,
picture, my naked
connection
picture.
to CSGO Lotto
The
has
one
been
that
a
was
public record
designated
since the company was first organized
for
in December of
everybody.
2015. However, I do feel like I owe you guys an apology. I'm sorry to each and every one of you who felt like that was not made clear enough to you.
Hey, can I get his dog, please? Why? Oh, because I'm gonna shoot it in the head, so I can prove that I deserve to be part of the Secret Service.
It was just public. It's your fault. Get it? Shifting blame. This is what I'm talking about. It's your fault. I'm not being disingenuous. I've been lying to you. It's your fault.
It's
you know?
fault.
You watch this video?
Go, boys! Alright, so I'm gonna open up my...
It's your fault for not understanding how perfectly clear it is that he actually owns his website.
Look at that. Woo! Off to a hot start, baby!
I mean, this
What
whole
does that
apology
mean?
really is just, it just seems like he's trying to cover his ass, legally speaking. And he even says it himself.
Please also know that I am committed to making sure that my YouTube channel, as well as all of my other businesses, are in compliance with the law.
They're in compliance
Oh.
with the law, everybody. A great response, you know? If you've done something that people don't like, just hit them with that, it's a compliance with the law, guys. Slap the ice cream of a kid. It's a compliance with the law. So what was the repercussion with this? Well, not much, to be honest. A lot of people thought, you know, this would be a big scandal, possibly jail time. People said there would be millions of dollars in fines. What was the verdict? Well, basically nothing. I mean, they got away with a warning from the FTC, and essentially, if this happens again, they will be fined roughly $40,000, which for someone like T. Martin seems
two
like
tarot
a pretty
card readings.
insignificant amount. So really, nothing really changed. But you know, it was in compliance with the law. As far as I can tell, he's still uploading videos, and I mean, fair enough. I guess. I don't know. There's no reason to dwell on these things. But I will always be grateful to T. Martin for the best apology video of all time. I would rate this apology video, it's an 8.5.
Okay, can you do
And
my
I just said
apology
it was the
video?
best apology video of all time, but it could be better. Let's go through.
No,
what
no,
we
mine
have
couldn't
for
be any better.
Laura
Mine was
Lee's
perfect.
Apology video. Now I didn't know who Laura.
Hello.
Now I didn't know who Laura Lee was. Apparently she did some racist retweets. It's just confusing, this video, to me, because I don't understand what is going on. Does it honestly start like this?
I want to talk to you guys in this video. It's
There is no tear there. The video has just started off. If you want to, like, wipe a tear, you can start the video at any point. And this is an amateur move. What you want to do is that you want to make sure you get to the point of the tear break, then you hit record. You can't just, you know what?
She put, it's that tear stuff, they just...
1 second in, and she said,
That's why I was, no, I don't have that.
Rubbing her face
This
and
tears come from my belly button.
This is good. This is what I meant with why T. Martin's apology video wasn't perfect, because he didn't do this. This is what T. Martin was missing. The thing is, when you're going through a controversy and the internet absolutely hates you, and I can speak from experience, although I never cried personally from it because I'm not a child or a whammon.
I'm a child.
You know, it is
a
stressful
whammy?
moment.
I might be a
And I
whammy.
think that's what we're witnessing here. This is not an apology. This is I'm trying to fathom what is happening to me here. I'm trying to process what is going on right now. This is not an apology. This is a reaction video to the outburst that is probably happening right now, I imagine, on Twitter and different news media.
hardest things I've ever done. So sorry. So sorry, you guys.
Why is this so comedic? I think, you know, you're watching someone crying. You're not supposed to laugh, right? But I think most people think this is funny. I don't know why. Is it the rubbing? I'm not buying it. I don't think anyone is buying it.
I don't care if they don't have to buy it. It's not for sale. My apology is not for sale. It's for Jordan. But if I can make some sales off of it,
What happened?
what's wrong with that? My apology video is the best apology video.
You know what? I'm sorry. This is the perfect apology.
Because it was supposed to be a football card video. And it turned into an... Was it an apology?
Stress tears. So
What was I saying? Oh, it's my mad. That wasn't my apology video. Did I have an apology video?
Emotions happening, which is kind of aligns with what I said
I don't
earlier.
know. Do I have an apology video? What video? What did I do?
It hurts me so bad. To disappoint you all who have supported me for so many years.
They did support you? They didn't support me ever.
She practically hasn't said anything but I'm better. So, but haven't showed any reason for us to believe why. I don't know. Maybe I'm being...
I've shown plenty of reason to show you
I just
why.
find it interesting how she starts off with saying, I'm better. I'm better now, guys. I'm cured. Look at me.
I, 6 years ago, decided to retweet things that were so vile.
What Laura Lee does here is absolutely amazing, because when you mess up, you want to underplay it as much as possible. You want to make sure that people get the lowest form of what you did. So instead of saying that she tweeted something, it was a retweet. And she goes very hard in on 6 years ago. It was 6 years ago. How can you possibly still be angry? But that's the problem with these things. People don't really care when it happened.
Stupid and ignorant. And I have no excuses here today. I'm not here to give you an excuse. I have no excuses. I'm only here to say that I'm so sorry.
I've done this as well. This is a great... You can't make excuses in your apology video, but it's just so damn hard not to. So what you want to say is, I'm not making any excuses, but then you can still sort of sneak excuses in there, you know? It was 6 years ago. I'm not making any excuses. It was a retweet. I'm not making any excuses.
I'm making excuses.
One day that you guys
She cries in Gucci.
can take me for the woman that I am.
I'm glad there's caption there, because I don't know what she's saying.
I can prove to you guys that don't break my heart. It's so like to look at please and be.
This goes on for 4 minutes and 44 seconds. I can't stand this video. You know, like some things are just so bad that they're good. This is just bad. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I gotta go check the times of my videos.
Again,
hold on, I'll be
there's
back.
no excuse.
I'll be back. Hold on, I'll be back. Hi, Ian. I'm not really sure if I still want you to owe me money or not. I gotta go check. I gotta go check. Hi, Elon Musk. Stop laughing at me, Elon Musk. Lou. Oh, okay, that's what I was doing. Four, 5, 1. I have no idea. Fuck you, Alex. Sorry, Alex. Hi, Jordan. know who I love.
Welcome to Renegade Inc. It was the Scottish author Charles Mackay who spotted that human beings go mad in crowds and come to their senses slowly and individually. One place to see this madness in action is in financial markets, especially when those markets have been juiced with cheap money. But manias never last, so on the cusp of the next economic crisis, some people are waking up to the reality of how the world really works. In fact, daily, more and more people have stopped drinking the Kool-Aid and have started joining the dots. Their mission is simple: to understand how far the tentacles of the vested interests really reach to maintain the status quo. One of the things on this show that we're really interested in is a personal story.
Yeah.
You've been through one. You're a real estate agent in Vegas. You oversaw the crash, and you had a light bulb moment.
Yeah, I did.
Walk us through it.
2007, March, going on a vacation. Last thing my buddy said to me was, you should take this book and read it. Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. I think you'll like it.
Holiday reading.
Yeah, it was a scuba diving trip, and I remember being on the boat, reading the book. We had 3 dives a day, and there were times when I was underwater, diving, and thinking, I can't wait till I get up to the surface so I can read another chapter. Was that
Perkins could put that on the front of his book, though, couldn't it? Better than a scuba diving.
I mean, I seriously was. It was so amazing to me because as I'm reading this and I'm understanding what he went through in the 60s and 70s in Maine and these companies and how they enslaved Ecuador. We've got this great plan. Hydroelectric power plant. It's going to generate all this money. It's going to, kids are going to have electricity. They'll learn to read and all these things. And they give some, a lot of money to the guys at the top. And then it doesn't pencil out as it wasn't expected to, according to the IMF and the World Bank. And then they come over like a bunch of loan sharks to Ecuador and say, you owe us a bunch of money and you can't pay it, but I think we have a solution. Why don't you vote our way in a UN resolution? You privatize your lumber industry and let our friends buy it. Put an American base there. We can work around it. And I thought, oh my God, these guys are just gangsters. They're gangsters in suits. And to have that light bulb moment and see that it was this extending credit to people, in John's case, countries that couldn't afford it, and then getting them in a bind, and then taking back tangible assets. I thought, I'm living this. It's happening right now.
Right, so and when did you make the link then between an economic hitman like John Perkins going around the world enslaving countries with debt and what you were doing on a day-to-day basis in this field?
It hit me when I was selling new homes. So I wasn't a traditional real estate agent. I was working for a builder. And fixed position. And a guy came in, wanted to buy a house. And when we ran his credit, he was approved for it, even though his job was that he was a landscaper. He cut grass and trim trees. He made about $10 an hour. And he was going to buy a $405,000 house.
What?
And we approved him for it.
And it was at the
What?
moment when you thought, this guy on this salary isn't ever going to be able to honour this debt.
Yeah.
Actually, this is exactly the same as a developing country taking on a huge loan from him.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, this guy has no business buying this house. He can't afford it. But he, in his mind, they approved me for it. They wouldn't approve me if I couldn't afford it, right? So I must be able to afford it. Or maybe he could. Maybe he could just barely make the payments, but he couldn't afford anything else.
Because house prices are always going up, and actually he can luck out because he'll be able to flip it.
Exactly. And the worst case scenario is he buys this house for $400,000. He realizes 2 years from now he really can't make this payment, and so he sells it for $500,000, goes back and buys a different house, pockets $100,000.
Which you can't really blame him for, can you? Because if you're on a suppressed minimum wage or a suppressed wage, and somebody offers you credit and free money after it, another $100,000. What are you going to say?
You're going to say most people in this country have made their fortunes in real estate, and I'm getting started. I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to start with this house. It's going to be worth a lot more. I'll sell it, or I'll keep it. I'll have a great house as things accelerate. And also, I was coming from Southern California, and the prices in Southern California were 3 times what they were in Las Vegas.
So you thought the Vegas prices could get there?
For sure, because there were so many similarities. And first, a lot of people from Southern California were coming because of taxes and lower prices, and Las Vegas is a great place. There's state income tax, there's all of these things. So I'm drinking the Kool-Aid because I feel the same way. I actually believe it. I wasn't lying. I believed what I was saying. I bought my house, I bought a second house. This was going to work for me too. Even if it stalled out and the house prices were not as valuable as Los Angeles, you're still better off.
So back to our landscaper. So the penny drop was, this guy's never going to be able to honour the debt. What's happening at the micro level is also happening at the nation-state macro level. Actually, there's a systemic problem here.
Yeah, and who's going to get that house in the end? The banks. They take it back from this poor guy. And that's what they did. They took him back, and then they stuffed renters in there after the crash. I saw this happening. I felt, my God, I mean, did I do this to this poor guy? Well, I understand the psychology, but I mean, he was just trying to get ahead, and he was given opportunities. And he was a guy that had come from Mexico. He was given these opportunities. He was saying, I'm going to get this house, I'm going to live the American dream, turn into a nightmare. And it wasn't his fault. He was just a part of it. And as I'm reading John Perkins' book, I had that epiphany like he did, which was, I think I'm on the wrong team. I think I'm on the wrong side here. But it wasn't really that I was on the side of anything evil. I just was being manipulated, like we all were, with these inflated home prices and unsustainable levels and then adjustable rate mortgages and things like that, where they never really explained it. I had an interesting situation happen to me when I was buying my own house. When I first got there, I used the lender that was our in-house lender to buy my house. He said,
no conflict of interest there?
No, we were free using. I said, I want to do a 30-year fixed mortgage. And he said, you should probably do a 5-year adjustable mortgage. I said, well, I don't really want that. I want a 30. He says, you should do a 5-year adjustable. But you're not going to stay in the house that long. The rates are low. And I said, no, I want to do a 30-year. And he said, well, you really should do a 5. I said, I'm telling you, I want a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Why was he pushing the others?
Well, what I found out later was that his commission was triple for them. I worked with him. He was my friend. And he was still trying to push me into this. I don't know that he knew it was necessarily going to blow up, but he had 3 times more money at stake if I took that adjustable rate mortgage.
So when you said that you realised at that moment that you were on the wrong side, as it were, but you weren't actively trying to be on that side, is it the case that there is structurally determined behaviour, like the guy with triple the commission, that are pushing people through these routes because that is how this economy, the American economy, the developed West, how we want to define it. That's how those economies are configured.
And if I had been in his situation, I might have done the same thing.
Right.
Because
so they're not bad people in these, because often, and of course, conspiracy theory comes out at this point, because it isn't that that there are people in caves with cats stroking them, deliberately being evil, but they are pushed into these structures because ultimately that's how we have, as a race of people, decided to order our economics.
Yeah, and also there's the mentality of if I'm not doing it, someone else will. But I didn't think it was anything wrong.
That's the ultimate arms dealer excuse, isn't it? If I don't do it, someone else will do it.
Right.
And they wouldn't do it as well, so I might as well do it then.
Right, but that's also the philosophy when you look at the mainstream corporate media. Someone like Anderson Cooper, how dare he do that? Well, if Anderson Cooper grew a conscience overnight and decided to hand in his resignation,
someone else would fill that spot.
There's 100 people waiting in line to take that job. So where do you draw the line for your own soul? If you know that you're a part of the problem and you continue to do it, then shame on you. But in my situation, I got to a point where I realized that it wasn't my fault, but I was part of a game that was rigged. I was determined that it would never happen to me again. I would never be put in a position where my actions were affecting other people in a negative sense. I wanted to understand a little bit more about cycles. And I was in my early 30s when this was happening, and so I didn't know enough to, I thought I did, but I really didn't know enough about how the cycles work and the pump and dump philosophy and the scam and how it's been around for a while. And I said, you know what, my number one goal was that I wasn't going to get fooled again by this. I had got caught in the dot-com bubble with stocks going up and coming down. In real estate, there was an oil peak in 2007 that happened too. I had friends that were working in the oil industry.
You basically had enough of being duped.
Yeah, I did. I was done being a sucker. I was done being the guy, playing 3-card Monte and going, how is this working? So I wanted to walk around the table and say, all right, explain to me how these scams work.
But there was a conscious decision from you to redraw your cognitive because you've been duped.
because I was financially hurt, I was emotionally destroyed by it, and other people that were close to me were hurt as well. I just didn't want that to ever happen again. So my way to make sure that never happened was to educate myself as best as I could on how the world really works, who's pulling the strings, who is manipulating things, what is their end goal. And if you can figure out what the goal is and work backwards, you might be able to save yourself some pain and torment from this. And so that's what I set about trying to do.
And what do you identify as the end goal of these people who are pulling the string?
They want to take us back to a situation where the kings and serfs, where the few control the many, out of fear, physical control, educational control, financial control, military control. As an American, you have 9/11, and Afghanistan happens, and then 2003, you've got the yellow cake uranium, weapons of mass destruction, all of those, and you realize, these lies that these politicians tell, they tell them fairly easily. They have direct consequences. We're talking about millions of people dying. And so when I wrote the book, my feeling was, I think I want to bring in the voices of these people. I want you to read what they said. I want you to hear that Madeleine Albright, when asked about whether or not the sanctions on Iraq was worth it, when 500,000 children died, I want you to read that her answer was, we think it's worth it.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it? I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
Those are the words of a psychopath. And these are the people that are running your country, running this world. And people forget about that. And so to me, it was important to bring in the voices, not mine. My voice is in there, of course. My opinion's in there, plus my dark sense of humor. Jon Stewart at The Daily Show did a really good job of mixing the real news in with a bit of humor, so that you're laughing at the story, but at the same time you're understanding, oh wait, this is a real story too. So I thought that was an interesting way of delivering some bad news. And so that's where my sense of humor came into this, but just these 500 different people, hearing what they had to say, the Bushes talking about, there's a new world order, stop with the new world order. Well, what if you heard George Bush mention it 200 times, the first George Bush? What if you heard all of these presidents talking about this? Would it make sense? Would you be less dismissive of it if you heard that, you've got Tony Blair and Madeleine Albright and Angela Merkel and all these people talking about the push for the New World Order? Would that maybe wake you up to the fact that this isn't just some conspiracy theory, but actually there is a plan in place to bring this about? And call it what you want, but they believe in it. And so that was the point. It was just like, forget me. Take me out of it. Listen to them. They're telling you the plan. You just have to listen. And I've never heard that. I never heard David Rockefeller thank the media for being silent and allowing the plan for the New World Order to take place, and thanking them for 40 years of keeping their mouth shut. Well, he said it in 1991 at the Bilderberg conference. I've got the quote from him. This is what he said. He thanked them. Now, do you think the media is on your side? Maybe the media isn't working in conjunction with these people. Maybe the fact that you're not getting the truth.
Check Fuddruckers and Build-A-Burger. Build-A-Burger from 1991, and then check Fuddruckers restaurant in Des Moines, or West Des Moines. Oh, and Minneapolis.
David Rockefeller said, or Hillary Clinton, every now and then we get a little cackling, we came, we saw, he died, that sort of thing.
We came, we saw, he died.
But for the most part, the media works to camouflage that from the public about the true intentions and the true personalities of these people. There's some dark people running the show. And I know that sounds a bit conspiratorial, but conspiracy is just two people working in concert to commit a crime. And I'd say that happens on a daily basis all over the world. You don't have to put on your tinfoil hat to understand.
I miss Kelly.
So I just thought that if people could read it
really feel bad.
hear their words, it would have a much bigger impact than just myself.
Welcome back to Renegade Inc., the show that allows us to think differently. Before we talk more about the levers of global control with the author, Charlie Robinson, let's have a look at what you've been tweeting about in this week's Renegade Inc. Index. Well, first up, we've got a tweet from the brilliantly named Belsaw Endgame and Is Morning. Who knows what that's all about? The tweet reads, as much as I want to care, US imperialism affects the marginalised abroad. Venezuelans are buying and willingly eating rotten meat due to the shortage of resources directly caused by US sanctions, while simultaneously funding terrorists within the country.
That's our specialty.
Oh, really?
In the United States, yeah, of course. Well, we impose sanctions on a country like Venezuela. When that doesn't do enough to convince them to sell us oil at the prices that we want, then we fund a competitor, in this case Guaido, to come in and challenge to become the new president. When that doesn't work, my fear is that he's gone as far as he can go as his useful existence, and that the next logical step is for the CIA to assassinate him and pin it on Maduro, to then justify an invasion and regime change in Venezuela. It's dirty tricks, but that's Elliot Abrams and John Bolton in a nutshell.
Next from Freedom of the Net. In a concerning development, US visa applications now require 5 years of social media details, providing authorities with easier access to personal information. Incredibly Orwellian, this. And is it the case that you might have years ago put something online which is then used against you to leverage the position that, for instance, the US government wants to take against you? I mean, wow, Orwell would be delighted.
Yeah, well, and it also creates a society of self-censorship, too.
Right.
No,
So it's thought control.
It's the thought police. This is memory holing you out of the system. It's sending a message to anyone thinking of speaking out in the future. This is what happens. You want to get on that airplane and go on your vacation? Better watch what you say. It's chilling, for sure, and nothing good can come from this.
Next from Economwalk for Safe Technology, US is getting on China re-surveillance. Distraction technique. US surveillance is not far behind in surveilling citizens without permission or transparency. This is from a CNBC article. US takes aim at Chinese surveillance as the trade war becomes a tech war.
Well, the social credit system is coming. I would say that China is the test market for it. It works so well there, they're going to import that to the United States. I think people that are seeing what's happening with the restrictions on who can participate in these platforms is the next logical step is to assign you a credit score and then suppress it. If you're a good citizen, you get high scores, you're allowed to do things. If you're a bad citizen, like in China, you're not allowed to get on a train.
Next from DS with US mainstream media is consolidated. It's dangerously easy to mislead and deceive the masses. There's a graph. In 1983, 90% of the media was owned by 50 companies, and today it is owned by a staggering 6.
The eventual goal, of course, is to have one. And you hear Eric Schmidt from Google talk about, every time you get 1 million answers to your Google query, that's a bug, that he thinks that there should just be one answer. Well, that's dangerous when you get one answer, because who's in charge of the answer?
And finally, from Nomi Prinz, the appointment of the next New York Fed president is the most powerful appointment in America that Donald Trump doesn't control, said Marcus Stanley, policy director of Americans for Financial Reform. My question to you as an American, when it comes to central banking, does the average American know how central banks really operate?
No, they don't know how they work, and that's intentional. They don't want people to know. In fact, that's why they named it the Federal Reserve. It's not federal, and it has no reserves. It's intentionally deceptive to make you think that it is a government-run institution. It's not. It's a private bank. And Americans don't understand how their normal banking system works. They don't even think about central banking. They don't understand it. They're so bogged down in their day-to-day lives that the concept of banking just seems boring and unimportant to them. And of course, it is probably the most dangerous aspect of anything that I cover in the book is the banking system.
It brings us nicely to your book. It's our book of the week, Charlie. It's The Octopus of Global Control. You've got 40 seconds to pitch it, so we will run out of the book.
The logo itself came from the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office satellite that was launched into space with the same octopus, and it said, "Nothing is beyond our reach." A very chilling way to look at the spy satellite programs that are being launched. I took that. I thought that was a good cover for it. This is a book that you send to your friends, family members that don't quite understand what's going on, that maybe look at you a little funny when you start to talk to them about the way the world works. It's something that you can send. If you've gone down that path with them and they've said, you're out of your mind, send them the book. It's funny. It's got quotes. It'll keep them hanging in there for a while, but it'll get the message across.
There it is, Octopus of Global Control. Congratulations on it. If you want the scales to fall away, it's well worth the read. So, thinking about the book, the first question really about it is why sit down and write 500 pages? Because, I mean, any sane human being
wouldn't sit down and think, you know what, I'm going to put... Because it's hard work banging out 5 minutes.
Well, had I known how hard it was, I wouldn't have done it in the first place.
The
but
worst
yeah.
sentence a human being can ever offer up, I'm going to write a book.
Oh, yeah. That's also part of the reason why I kept it completely within myself.
Yeah,
I didn't talk
that's
about
really
that.
interesting, because you've actually got a similarity there with John Perkins, with Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He didn't tell a soul that he was writing that book. Nobody, only him. But you did, and you didn't know he did this, but you did the same thing.
I did. I wrote it in complete secrecy. I didn't want a couple things. First of all, I didn't know that I would finish it. I thought I was motivated to write it. I wanted to see how I felt. The more I wrote, the more I wanted to write. I snuck out of bed in the middle of the night to write this. The first person to find out about it was my wife. When the first box of books arrived, she opened it up, took a look at that book, saw my picture on the back, and told me, get out.
But why wouldn't you tell her?
I didn't tell anybody. I wanted it to be entirely within my control. I didn't want exterior influences. I didn't want somebody to tell me to stop also. It was that important to me. I felt this need, and I didn't know that if I could verbalize that to somebody else in my life and say, this is important, I have to write this.
And what's your intent behind it? What's your real intent behind this?
Part of my intent is to cleanse myself of any guilt that I had for being a part of this early on. Although I know it wasn't intentional, I did play a role in it. I felt bad about that. I wanted to make sure that this information went out to people. Maybe they wouldn't experience the same thing. Maybe they would understand this banking fraud. They would see it coming in advance because they had read the book.
So we're basically reading your big confession.
Yeah, I felt an obligation. I felt a duty. It wasn't pleasurable to write it, but knowing that the information was going to be out there and it couldn't be silenced after I put it out, the genie was out of the bottle. I felt that I had to do it. I wanted to do it, and that it was important. It wasn't. I didn't write a kid's book. It was something that was.
And you used the scope is huge. I mean, you know, congratulations on the breadth: military control, government control, covert control, media control, spiritual control, financial control, and it goes on. Scientific control. What you're asserting is actually this octopus is in all aspects of our lives.
It is, and there's a quote in there from John Francis Hyland, who was the mayor of New York City. He's talking about the octopus with its sprawling tentacles, and he says, let me be clear, this octopus is the Standard Oil interest, in their interest above. And he's talking about how they have infected the courthouses and the governments and the media and everything. At the very end, you read that was written in 1922. You read that quote today, you would have thought this was some guy from last week talking about it. And you realize it's almost a century. Nothing's changed.
But so the cynic would say to you, yeah, but come on, why are you doing this, Charlie? I mean, you know, this is conditions normal. This is how we roll. This is actually how the world works.
Yeah, well, the world is broken. That's no excuse for us to sit and do nothing, to let the people that have turned this world into, you see people starving in Yemen. Were we just supposed to allow these psychopaths to continue on? No, we have to acknowledge what they're doing. Even if it's difficult, we have to do what we can to stand up and have a voice and say, we're done with this. This control grid that you've implemented, we had no say in it. We don't agree to it. We do not consent to this. And it's important to empower people to realize that the most important thing we can say is that we're not participating in this any longer. We're going to take ourselves out of this equation. You want us to vote? We're going to vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? No, this system is broken. The more people become aware of this, that's how things get changed. And things change. They always change. And the big lie that we're sold is that we're just one little person. We can't do anything about it. That's not true. We can do something. We might not be able to change it all, but we can maybe impact people close to us. Start with your family. Start with your friends. Educate them as much as you can and take it from there, because those people tell a couple more people. And if John Perkins hadn't written his book, I wouldn't have written mine.
I have a 1.5-year-old grandson, and every time I look at this baby, I wonder what the world's going to be like in 6 decades when he's my age. And I know that if we stay the course, it'll be ugly. But we have this opportunity to do something very, very different. And one of the things we must recognize is that my grandson can't possibly hope to inherit a sustainable, just, and peaceful world unless every child growing up in Botswana and Bolivia and Indonesia has that same opportunity. And this is brand new in history. We live on a very, very tiny planet, and we're just beginning to recognize that we're all totally interconnected. Today, we're all facing climate change. We're all facing overpopulation, diminishing resources, increasing prices for food and fuels, violence that comes out of desperation. We're all seeing that all the systems all over this planet are in rapid decline, and it's declining at an accelerating rate.
That's good.
And
I'm glad.
Every human being on this planet, in fact, every life form, is faced by the same crises. And for the first time, we're all communicating with each other through the cell phones and the internet. Everybody is communicating with everybody else. So we suddenly become this very, very tiny planet. It's a good thing that that's happening in many respects. And it also lets us know in no uncertain terms that my grandson cannot have a good world unless every child growing up on every remote corner of this planet has that same expectation, and we realize it for all of them.
Your final chapter is So What Now? And that's the obvious question for me to ask.
Yeah, part of it is the understanding that we have another choice, and that is to not comply with these unjust laws and these unjust rules. They want to put you in the military and ship you off to some foreign country to kill people that had nothing to do with you. Don't participate. Don't join the military for that. That's insane. You watch your nightly news and they tell you about how horrible. Turn it off. Turn on something else. Find another outlet. It's very instrumental for the people that are in a position of power to convince everybody else that they have no power. That's the greatest trick of all. But you have to wake up to that. People go bankrupt slowly, then all at once. So it's a slow process, and then all at once. We watch that with social media. Social media has realized, people are waking up. We can't have that. So they're trying to silence any dissenting voices. It's a dangerous thing, but it's also an acknowledgement that we're on the right track.
So if people do wake up slowly and then all at once, and this is an impossible question, where is the Western world, if you like, on that trajectory? Are we at a moment where people are saying, do you know what, I can see how the world is ordered at the moment and I don't like it? Or are people just thinking, well, you know what can I do about it?
There's an inverted curve. The curve going up is an understanding and a realization that what we're being told is not the truth. And there's another curve that's going down, and that is the intentional dumbing down of society.
And where do those two curves cross?
Well,
and what happens?
Well, if the people don't wake up soon enough, it's over, because everyone will be too dumbed down to do anything about it. The trick is alerting people to the reality of the situation, educating them to get them going on that upward swing as fast as they can, because we're close to the point of no return. And the movie Idiocracy, it's set 500 years in the future. People have joked that now that's becoming a documentary, and that's, of course, alarming to us.
And as you go around it on speaking tour or signing books or whatever it might be, what do you see? Is it a cause for optimism, or should we all run for the woods?
No, it is a cause for optimism. Like I said, with the social media deplatforming, you're seeing people that are having an impact, whether they're anti-war or anti-vaccine or anti-whatever. Their voices are being silenced because the people in control understand that they're making an impact. They're legitimately concerned about these renegades getting out there and talking about things and the possibility that they might wake up the population. And that's the one thing that they fear, is that there's so few of them and so many of us. We have the numbers. It's just a matter of a sense of awareness and coming to terms with the reality. And it's very difficult for people to acknowledge that they've been lied to, that they've been deceived. And we don't like to admit that. None of us do. But we've got to get over that and say, well, that was in the past. And from now on, we're not taking this anymore.
Charlie Robinson, thank you very much for the book, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's it from Renegade Inc. HQ this week. You can drop the team a mail, studio@renegadeinc.com, or you can tweet us @Renegade Inc. Join us next week for more insight from those people who are thinking differently, but until the
We'll fucking attack you, China! We'll attack you to death, China! If you don't release them videos so the police can do their job. No, the ones that the tax dollars pay for them to do. No, not the ones that you write in for them to do. The ones that are in the public perception they should be doing. Arresting pedophiles. We will war you to death, China. You know all those bombs? They're gonna come to you, China. Let the videos play, China. I'm gonna fuck you up. No, I don't talk nice. Fucking terrorist attacks happens in nice. But not in mean. I don't know if you've ever been in mean, but in mean, we don't got no fucking terrorists. All we got is God. God, China. Air, China. I'm 70% air, China. That is your responsibility. Do the fucking right thing. Get a clue, bitch.